Howdy from the American Southwest. Welcome to the Peash-nut channel, and my name is Dave Lagasse. Today I'm going to talk to you about this board. This board inspired me to go on to make hundreds of boards. This was built in 1926 by my granddad in Bristol, Connecticut. You can see this was an old starch crate. It says starch. He was a grocer in Bristol, Connecticut. Also played hockey up in Quebec before he moved to Connecticut. He married my grandma in 1925. They had 3 kids. I think this board speaks a lot for itself just by the beauty of it. You know, even though it's very old, it's a beautiful piece of American folk and Quebec folk art, and it's very practical. So we played hours and hours on this as kids. I have 4 siblings, and we would play in Connecticut till all hours of the night, and we'd have company come over and play peash-nut. Nobody ever seen the game before. We weren't sure if my granddad invented the game or what the story was until the internet came about, and then we got a hold of Wayne Kelly up in Ontario, and we realized, you know, up in Ontario it's called Crokinole or Crokinole, and we called it peash-nut. Let me show you a little bit about it. The game here is very simple. You can play 2 or 4 people generally. These 2 people would be on a team. I'd be on a team sitting opposite my partner. I'm just going to show you one-on-one. I'll make a lot of other videos. I'll talk about the pucks, the scoring, the strategy. I'll show you how to play doubles, how to play one-on-one. Okay, but for today, we're just going to look at this board and how we used to play on it. We started out just using checkers, plastic checkers, okay, red and black. You know, these are the stackable types. You remember the kind of checkers you could stack because they had little nubs. I don't know, maybe they still make them, but we had gobs of these. We used to play checkers as well. For those of you who don't know, peash-nut means flick. Okay, peash-nut is French for flick. In France, they say peash-nut. In Quebec, they say peash-nut or peash-nut. They probably still use that too, but it morphed into, like many words came over from France, they morphed it into something colloquial and Quebecois, so it became peash-nut. Okay, so peash-nut, you're flicking a piece. Your opponent's going to try to knock you off. I'm just going to play the opponent. You see, that's how that goes. And now, what you're always trying to do is knock your opponent towards the lower score. This is 5 points, 10 points, 15, 20. Okay, all around the board. 5, 10, 15, 20. You want your piece to go in towards the center, and you want your opponent to go in the ditch, because once the pucks are in the ditch, they count for 0. They're not played again. You each start with 12 pieces. When you're done shooting, you add up the score. Anything that goes in the center is 20, and you would just put this in a little cup on the side because you'll add that up to your score later. Okay. But again, the main point of this video is just to show you a really cool old board that my grandpappy Lucien Rajotte made in Bristol, Connecticut. He saw it played up in Quebec. You don't have to plug it in. You don't need electricity. You don't have a game controller. This is your game controller right here. I've had the privilege to make hundreds with my brother. We made over 500. I've made a couple hundred myself. We now make a round version here. I made, I don't know, many octagons, but the round for me is where it's at because I have arthritis now, and this baby is a lot easier to make than sanding all these joints. What else can I tell you? My mom and her two brothers, her two younger brothers, have been playing since they were about 5 years old, or whenever you can start playing the game. And they still play. They all play, and they have their own boards, and most of the boards are boards I built. But my Uncle Norman in Denver built his own round board many years ago, probably 30 years ago. It's a beautiful board. He did use Formica for the top. I've made them with Avenite, like this is Avenite here, or like a Corian product. We've done solid wood, birch wood, so on. But the main thing I want to show you about this board is just how we started out playing with these checkers, okay, wooden, plastic checkers, plastic interlocking checkers. And then somebody came up with these rings. You can put them on your finger here. These plastic rings made by the Carroms company. All right, so these guys, you know, we kind of consider them an improvement because they got this cool side thing going on where they look like the middle slice of a pool ball, you know, so they got a nice sound. They're pretty lively. So somehow or another we ended up playing with these guys, and they play pretty good, you know, and they're still sold today. They have a ring center, you know, so it's pretty lightweight. They also come in a translucent color. There's collectors that collect every kind of Carrom piece ever made. These posts here were just made with nails. My granddad used nails, and they found some kind of tubing, some hard rubber tubing that's lasted. In 4 years, this board will be 100 years old. So what's unusual about this board is the center is pretty small, so it's very difficult to get through, and the hole is unusually big. So it's kind of a, you know, it's probably just he made it from memory. There was no standard size or anything like that. But you can see the hole is very large. So, you know, that's a good sized piece. These smaller rings, you know, they got plenty of room to spare, and they actually can go through the more narrow channels better than these big fat guys here, you know. Good. It'd be almost impossible to make that shot, but maybe on a good day you could. But anyways, we preserved this board. His wife, my grandma, Antoinette Rajotte, kept it in her possession for many years, and now we hold on to it. And if you have any questions, shoot them down below in the comments. I'm gonna leave you some links to where you can look at this a little closer. I've got some shots of it on the on my website. Again, just made from an old starch crate from the grocery store that he owned on Meadow Street in Bristol, Connecticut. A real nice, simple but elegant work, you know, just good folk art, making use of space, negative space, positive space, lots of pieces. I wouldn't have ever thought to make it like that. I would have just used one piece, but wood flexes a lot, and you know, if you don't have big pieces of wood, then you just join them together, you know, like he did with glue and screws, and it's pretty clever, in my opinion. I would have never thought to do anything like this, but it's kind of typical of the period. You use the materials that you have, and you end up with a really nice deck. You know, I'll show you some of the earlier boards made by the Carroms company where they don't have a deck that's raised. It's all one level. So what tends to happen, the pucks just kind of shoot back on. You'll see this in another video. But this is nice because the pucks actually drop off. It's kind of like going into the pocket of a pool table where they drop in, or on a traditional carom board where there's 4 pockets and the pucks just drop away. So once they drop there, you don't play them again. Probably made of pine, this top, and the rails also pine. And the box, probably a pine, could be alder, poplar, any of these woods. I don't know what they are, you know. I don't want to strip it down to find out, which would probably be the only way to do that. But, you know, he put a stain on here, probably a golden oak stain or gunstock stain. And then, you know, we just keep it oiled so it doesn't deteriorate. All across the northern United States and southern Canada and beyond, many people made boards. Once it was a game that caught on. All right, thanks for watching. Take care. Live long and flick.